Hello and welcome back, everyone, as we prepare for our second series of the day. MU getting ready to take on AOE. But before we get into that, we want to take a look at some of the standings between both streams so far because things are getting crazy here. Gabby Beatdown, we have a massive clump at the bottom. No teams are knocked out yet, and there are two teams tied. AOE are right in there with them. If they lose both games today, Gabby, we're going to have a three-way tie to determine who's in still that kind of last spot in playoffs.
This is why I love watching the games of those that are kind of trying to make that breakoff point in these last weeks of the season, because look how close it is. It makes all the difference. I mean, yesterday, even when we were kind of tracking on this stream the standings on the other side, then, you know, we're obviously having our reactions of like, oh, Team Liquid lost a game. What does that mean for Wildcard? And then watching your VOD and you guys saying, oh, Wildcard lost a game. What does that mean for Team Liquid?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of
ways.
that happens, especially, you know, teams like Taco, right?
Yeah, so let's take a look at the match ahead of us right now because this will have massive implications. We're going to go through the rosters quickly here. Maryville University up first, the collegiate powerhouse, the kings of collegiate, or at least they once were, as they have.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Two finals, but it's okay. It's okay.
There's a champion that we just...
Yeah, we were there. We even interviewed one of them, remember?
But they are the representative here in the Challengers League. We'll be going up against AOE Gold. Let's take a look at this roster as well. Now, I know that this is the second round robin, but I'm not sure if either of you are aware. There's a bit of a conspiracy going around here. I've heard, despite the schedule, that these two teams have never played each other. Have you heard about this, Beatdown? Have you heard this rumor?
I mean, I have. Are you telling me you know something about this? Because I was just under the impression, like, there was no one who had access to this.
So, I did some digging. All right, I did some investigative journalism. I don't know if you know this about me. I was a journalist, air quotes, at one point, doing player interviews. So I did some investigative journalism to figure out what happened, what went on earlier in the first round robin, because all the tape has been cut. All right, we have no information on this.
Yeah.
I found a file. Let's take a look at it right now, okay? This is groundbreaking. Breaking news, everybody. It was top secret. I had to go into a basement's basement to get to this file.
Oh, dang.
And again, there's nothing. It's removed from the record. There's a match that happened, but there's no names. They've been taken off. And honestly, I think we need to look into Scary Jerry's whereabouts. I think he's got something to do with this. Because if you remember back in the first round robin, Lynx's power went out and they had to swap the roster around. Where was Scary Jerry when that happened? And was he anywhere near the power grid? That's my question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, Kangas, when I was trying to catch up on everything from the first round robin before coming in for the broadcast in the second one, I was trying to find this match and I just couldn't. And when I tried to click on the link, it was just a picture of Scary Jerry. And
what?
I
just Scary Jerry
understand
with
why.
Power line. Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me, but now you're bringing some new information to the table.
Kangas,
Well,
are you
of course,
gonna,
to catch
should
everybody
you
up
be
and
telling us
confused,
this?
there was, of course, in first round robin, a big power issue with Lynx. So Will, the jungler, had to play in the bot lane. Acadian came in to play in the jungle. So we really didn't get to see the proper show between the two of these teams. Beatdown, that means that this is really going to be our first look at the actual rosters going head-to-head. Let's start with AOE and how they're looking coming into this match, and maybe what we can expect from them.
So AOE Gold were a team where we had middling expectations for this roster. These first couple of weeks, that first round robin, not a good look at all. Especially with Will coming in, a player we've been really excited about. But week 4, they go 4-2. A really strong showing and more of what we expected from them when the split started. This team is starting to look much better. Will, in particular, a player who we are very excited about. You're going to see it in these clips that you actually grabbed, Kangas. Really smart about how he uses his cooldowns in team fights. Waits till the absolute last second. And it's something I'm also a big fan of as well. He was the one leading AOE to a lot of those clutch victories that they had last weekend.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've become more impressed by now that I've started to notice it more often, that there are specific players that will hold their abilities until the right moment. Oftentimes, I know that I do this all the time. I have object permanence in League of Legends. When I play a game, I'm
just League of Legends?
I see enemy, I click W, right? Like, I just go in every single time. So what I really like is when players don't do that. They hold the abilities and they wait for the right time to go in. I think that really encapsulates Will as a player and part of why we're so impressed by him. Now, a reminder that he had to play in the bot lane last time around, so now he actually is in the jungle for this match.
Yeah.
That is the exciting thing here, because if they had not had that roster swap happen last minute, there's a chance if they even get one game, they're one game behind MU in the standings. They would have swapped in the standings, and they would actually be coming in as favorites in this match. So now let's talk about the opposition, Maryville, and how they're looking. I'm going to give this one back to Beatdown as well, because I know that you were the one that grabbed these clips, so I'd like you to talk through kind of the reasoning for what we feel about Maryville right now.
And I gotta say, Maryville are a team where I have mixed feelings about. They're exciting to watch because they're very aggressive early lane. The Odd Orange, I gotta say, he's had a really good split so far, playing better than any of us have expected, and he is kind of the engine for Maryville University and how they find these early game leads. They're able to leverage some of these aggressive early game picks and some of these less aggressive picks like the Ivern, but Odd Orange, he works with what he's got, Kangas, and they are able to find a lot of these leads. I will say Maryville, not always the best at closing these leads out that they get for themselves, but man, when they play early, they play it hard.
Now, Beatdown, I know that you know the answer to this. I want to test Gabby to see if she would have a guess.
Okay.
Maryville, Beatdown went through the stats and took a look at teams and their win percentages when they have a gold lead at 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. See, like, okay, generally, if you have a gold lead at 15 minutes, it's a good indicator that you're winning the game. You theoretically can close it out. You should have a higher win percentage. Where do you think out of the 10 teams Maryville ranks in win percentage at 15 minutes with a gold lead?
15 minutes with a gold lead.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they rank? I'll say...
Yeah. So are they high in the percentage of closing out games with a win or low in the percentage?
I'll say low. I'll say 7 because I feel like even though they do have a lot of early game strength, they split so many series 1-1.
That is correct. In fact, Beatdown, do you want to let us know exactly where they are?
Yeah, you're right when you say low, Gabby, but not quite when you say 7. They're actually 10th, and that hasn't changed because even their series yesterday, where they had a gold lead at 15 minutes, both games they lost.
And I know it's tough to highlight that for a team, but it's important too because it gives context for how they play the game. They draft for early game comps. They play for the early game. And when things get out of control, or specifically when their opponent drafts for a scaling composition and can absorb the early game aggression, not give them too much of a lead and don't let them snowball, Maryville do struggle to close out their games. Will their fortunes change here? We'll see. They're up against a team that's right next to them in the standings. They are not safe from relegations, so Maryville will have to step up now. I'm going to pass it over to the casters for pick and ban of game number 1.
All right, let's get into it. The first true matchup of summer between Maryville University and AOE. And I'm sure that there's maybe a bit more calmness on the AOE side this time around. Props to Acadian for stepping in from that coach position to come back in jungle, and Will flexing the opposite way. But this time they've got Lynx in the bot lane, who I think has been pretty reliable in terms of damage in the late game. And a lot of it feels like for AOE, when they've got Darkwings in a good position and they get some kills on him, then they're getting those wins. But when things don't go that way around mid lane, then that's where they run into some trouble. And we know that Maryville do like to focus around mid too. So I very much want to watch how those matchups go.
Right, AOE, very bot-focused team. You see a lot of Will in his early game pathing center around getting this duo in Lynx and Breezy ahead. Lynx is a player who I've been pretty happy about overall. It was his first time at this level in spring. I thought him and Skytech had a really good regular split when they were playing together. And even though he started off a little slow with the addition of Breezy and Will onto this team, I think these last couple of weeks have been pretty good. Even though they lost against FlyQuest Challengers yesterday, Lynx and Breezy holding their own against Masu and Winsome, two players who last split were one of the top couple of bot lanes we had in the league.
And, sometimes in lane, it's not always the most consistent, depends on the matchup and stuff, obviously. But I think having that kind of late game capability and being able to look at the positioning of links, especially if you draft in that direction, we'll see how AOE can lean into that. But Maryville, as you were both noting in our pre-show, I definitely want to track what Odd Orange is going to do, how Will might be answering to it, what kind of early plays will they try to take to put them ahead. And Niles, always fun to watch, has a very unique champion pool, very willing to go aggressive in the lane, and we will see what that ends up looking like against Concept, who's had a lot of solo kill action from my understanding.
Yeah, I didn't believe it when I saw the stat, but thinking back on some of the games and the way he goes for it, as far as top laners go, I mean, he's racking up the kills, Gabby, and it's a pretty solid look for a player who I feel is a little wishy-washy. But Maryville, they start things off with the LeBlanc. You were very happy about that one since Trist is off the table, and even though they deny that one, this LeBlanc, it's been a strong one there for Get Back, and I have a feeling, it's a little bit of an inkling, that the response is going to be this Kai'Sa, because Kai'Sa do be slapping LeBlanc a little bit in the laning plays.
Do be a little bit.
A little bit of slapping.
Yeah, and LeBlanc, mid laners are still going with LeBlanc, even though Static Shiv did get a change. And
yeah, pretty big change.
Pretty big change. So not going to be as aggravating to play against LeBlanc as on previous patches where the wave is just gone. You go, okay, I guess this is just where I'm at now. But still, I think whenever you have a pick like LeBlanc that a lot of mid laners tend to favor to begin with, and then there's still an angle to be seen with some kind of power from that build, then they're still keeping her around the meta for the time being. But you do have to worry about that Kai'Sa on the opposite side. Nautilus picked up for Maryville University, and a Poppy on the other side, which we have seen in some of the soul lanes, but a lot of jungle priority as of late.
Right, I think Poppy jungle, very strong at the moment here, and especially if you're going to be playing into things like the Nautilus, like the LeBlanc in team fight, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of that steadfast presence. But of course, Concept, we know he has played that very champion this very summer split. So it could also be going into his hands as well. But I like it, making full use of that red side, not giving away all of the information, just trying to pick up whatever strong combos that you can get for themselves.
2 games of Poppy for Concept, none to be seen yet from Will, but that doesn't mean that it's not a possibility. Varus also somewhat touched in terms of the builds that you go with him on 1313, but still offers a lot of lockdown with that chain of corruption and just a toolkit that can definitely poke down. And when you're looking at what Kai'Sa can do in terms of poke and really being able to output some of that harass, then it's good for Maryville to have a harassing option as well. But Kai'Sa going for Dark Wings as the Aphelios has just been locked in for Lynx.
Right, so we have that confirmation. Lynx, a comfort pick for him, and a lot of our AD carries in this league. Aphelios, despite the nerfs on this very patch, people still see his power, and Spawn showed us examples of that yesterday in their clutch win against Wildcard. So, Maryville, they have a comp where you have a good bit of poke. With the Varus, you still have a good amount of scaling and late game damage, wave clear and everything. So they just need something to kind of eat up some of the damage that this Kai'Sa and Aphelios are going for. Both teams, actually, with the exception of this LeBlanc on Maryville, looking for this front-to-back style. So on AOE side, at this point, you have 2 hyper carries, late game, extremely strong champions. Now I need to see you make a wall around them, some big beefy boys, and Poppy is a good start for that.
And see what they can work up to in terms of engage for the AOE side to lock down some of the Maryville members and allow the Aphelios and Kai'Sa to do their thing. But as far as the bans being targeted towards top side as well as that jungle position for Maryville, they take away the Jax, they take away the Malphite. So, a very obvious terms of engage in for that, let me just scale and get towards my team to be able to set them up with that unstoppable force or use it as an escape mechanism.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that one. I mean, they're not convinced that Poppy is going to the top lane or maybe wanting to limit Concept's options as well. So for the moment, those are going to be out of the picture, and I like it. AoE, they're keeping that Poppy flex till the very end by locking in this Alistar, and it's good because it's a bit of disengage, as we know Alistar is very good at, but you can get right in there with Poppy, the dive buddy, that a dive champion like Poppy so desperately needs. Maryville now, maybe looking for some disengaged tools of their own, hovering the Milio, which is actually going to be locked in. So Odd Orange is likely going to be playing this Nautilus in the jungle, which I think he's done once before this split. I'm not 100% on that, but overall, I like the pivot.
Yeah, I mean, even though Milio had gotten some changes, specifically with the passive of Fired Up to kind of pull back on some of the damage that he was giving towards allies, you still can't get past the fact of that team-wide cleanse with the Breath of Life, and still an ability as an enchanter to buff up the rest of your team and kind of help that backline stay where they need to stay and still be able to outrange AOE. And Nar being locked in for Niles, most picked by far. This will be his 10th game on Nar.
Yeah. Real big comfort there for Niles. When he is on this pick, he sets up some great engages for Maryville here. And there it is, that wall I was hoping for on the side of AOE has come through. Concept, ever the tank specialist, is going to be locking in the Scion there. His whole job, CC, eat up damage for the likes of Dark Wings and Lynx. And when we get late game, like I said in the last series, Gabby, double marksman. We love to see that.
Yeah, you like the double marksman, but what do you like about these comps overall, putting them in the head-to-head?
I think if we go late, AOE are going to feel very comfortable about their chances winning the game. Maryville, on the other side, they have a lot of early game tools, which is great for them because that is how they play the game. Fast and loose in the first 15 minutes, where they go for a lot of kills, they make a lot of things happen, but it's sometimes how they fall apart. The pressure is on them to get these leads they'll desperately need, overcome AOE in the later stages.
Yeah, Maryville trying to make the most of those early game tools. The Nautilus feels like around MSI time and beyond was kind of one of those first picks to really start to flex that flexibility. You know, not quite seen in mid anymore as of late, but right now in that jungle position from Odd Orange. Some of the similar thought process when you're thinking about having Rel or somebody else with those tools to engage and set up. Odd Orange doing a good job when he can get these lanes going.
Right, and of course, as it says in the bottom left of your screen, you get 24,601 Riz, or 24601 for the Les Miserables fans. I don't know how to say that word. But that's right, you subscribe now to Path to LCS or LCS Challengers League. Half the revenue goes to the players and teams here in Challengers League. By subscribing, you directly put money into the teams and players' pockets. And of course, follow Path to LCS on Twitter. Use the hashtag NACL. Maybe we get your tweets on stream. You got a funny joke? You got something to say to Gabby or I? As long as it's, you know, respectful and not terrible, it'll come on stream.
Yeah. We like to have kind of it's like our own version of chat in a way, since we're not looking at chat during the games, but having a little tweet here and there pop up in the lower left corner. I love to see the sentiments of the community as they're watching everybody face off in week 5 of the NACL, try and get those last wins that they can. Of course, they have next week too, but that's when you really get into do or die territory. But all right, I want to see what Maryville can do with this early game. Really track. I know that you're emphasizing what Odd Orange is able to do for MU. Let's see if he can kick things off nicely against AOE.
Right, and we're already seeing some of these lane assignments go the way you'd kind of expect. Darkwing's already proccing Getback's passive there on the LeBlanc. That does mean limited options for Odd Orange to go for any invades, as Concept is getting the push as well. It's looking like it's likely going to be a full clear for junglers, but Scary Jerry, he's got something to say.
Yeah, it's the Ghost Lynx already having to heal up, empowered Q to slice. But nothing to be had just of it, so ends up expelling his own summoners, but doesn't grab any.
Yeah, that pressure is going to be a really nice thing that Odd Orange could potentially play for after he clears and resets. He's actually started his Raptors doing a bit of a reverse clear, making it so that Will won't be able to get that usual Raptors timer to steal, and also means he'll finish on this bottom side of the map. I mean, this trade from Scary Jerry, seeing many interviews of him, hearing interviews from him overall, talking to him, he says that when he is feeling confident, that's when he plays his best, and he's got some incredible plays this weekend.
Scary Jerry does get knocked up, but Psycho offering all he can with the campfire and more. Will separating Scary Jerry. Support can't step up to him, so first blood drawn by AOE.
Really nice engage there from Breezy on this Alistar finding that angle. Will, because he did his full top side and just walked bottom, he had that opportunity over Odd Orange, who went for a little more of that unorthodox clear. Odd Orange will be ahead in farm, and oh my god.
Scuttle eats the hook, thumbs up.
Ooh.
Psycho zoning off Will beyond that, so junglers just going a little head-to-head here and trying to keep an eye on one another. Odd Orange.
Oh, we got a scrap.
Circling around, so Will dashes onto Psycho, and now Odd Orange stepping up to the buff, but Breezy basically putting that handcuff between him and Will for a moment's time just to ensure until they get eyes onto Odd Orange where he's going to be, and now Breezy waiting over the wall.
Oh wow, they want
hex
this.
Slash in, does so into the brush, gets rooted on the entry, and the fight over the blue buff continues as it attempts to walk back over towards its pit.
Oh, Darkwings is coming.
Darkwings rotating down. Will gets rooted, and the damage is pretty good. Odd Orange attempts to Q him, but Will flashes over the wall. Scary Jerry even poking with the Q to create that space. So Odd Orange and the Maryville team very effective in bullying Will off of that buff. And now Scary Jerry, being level 3, when you can start getting that Blighted Quiver onto the Empowered Qs and everything, you're just going to have a lot more poke too. So good lead there for MU in that play.
It is a good start, and AOE definitely overstaying their welcome there. Your bot lane is super pressured, and Breezy was actually down a level when it all started. So it really just, all that effort and time that Will could have spent clearing his other camps that are still level 1 on the bottom side, he spent it not even getting that blue buff on the bottom end. So he's actually gotten set behind just a little bit, even though that first blood gold will offset it. You look overall at Maryville, this is that example we talked about. Early game pressure, doing the best that they can to get these leads, even though it hasn't amounted to much yet. We're already seeing those inklings of what Scary Jerry is able to do on this far, as more attention from Odd Orange could get them the lead that they need.
And in terms of some of the fighting tools that'll be available, Darkwings and Get Back have hit level 6 concepts, and Niles just now doing the same. Wave being pushed down here on bot for AOE. There's a slight CS lead going for Lynx, and I mean, some of that delay for Will means that he was set somewhat behind and now just trying to clear out in his own jungle. And the wards for Lynx and Breezy on bot, making sure that they can have some protection once they return to lane in case Odd Orange decides to spend any more additional time down there ahead of this dragon now past 6 minutes that has spawned.
Dragon will be very important for the side of Maryville. That's why you're seeing AOE congregate over it at the moment here. Darkwings has pushed the wave. He's moved in with the rest of his team. And even Lynx, who's now walking towards the wave he can push it, should help just solidify this one for AOE because Scary Jerry is nowhere nearby. Going to be an easy pickup there. Something AOE, or rather something Maryville would have likely wanted to get for themselves, goes over to the hands of AOE Gold.
A very full commitment from AOE Gold to take that dragon, but MU just kind of keeping to their lanes, and Odd Orange just now making his way towards that bot side, was getting some more farm for himself. And the Gold not really swinging too much one way. You can see CS even across mid. A slight lead for Niles here on top side, even moving behind the turret to get one of these deeper wards. Will walking through lane in case Niles overstays his welcome there. His concept on that tank will just continue to become more and more durable for the rest of the game, but Darkwings has to flash across mid. Odd Orange lands the dredge line, but enough of heal coming out of Darkwings. Had to use the flash and ultimate here, but does not give the life.
Oh, hold on. No W on Get Back.
Yeah, Will was waiting over the wall, so flash for flash. Good attention spent by Will to make sure that they were able to alleviate some of that pressure.
Right, and this is good. AOE, when you have these comps where you want to just chill, farm, scale, being even slightly behind, just being able to minimize those losses is the perfect thing for you to do. And that's what AOE have done. As far as kills have gone, they've got the only one with that first blood at around the 3-minute mark. When it comes to farm, basically even across the board, with Will being the only one falling behind a little bit because he messed with his tempo, fighting for that blue buff for as long as he did. That aside, you're pretty happy with how everything is, as long as Will can tick over to level 6 with the camps he's farming on his top side. If he can do that, AOE actually have a decent shot at contesting this Rift Herald as well. You can already see both supports walking up, might have a little scrap.
Yep, and Zyko hitting 6. Niles on the top side, just making sure to burn down Concept a tad as he's attempting to get this clear to set up around this Rift Herald.
Yeah, Niles, he just used his Mega Gnar. His team wasn't anywhere in the area, so there's a window. AOE can just start this one up. Niles won't go Mega for a little bit, but Auto Orange is here to run interference. We'll see what these teams actually want to do.
Yeah, stepping up to it, or excuse me, Zyko will eventually have the ult. A little smudge on my screen here. But
yeah, it looks like a 6 to me too.
Yeah, like it looked like a 6. I was like, oh wow, this support's really online. Just
right?
Getting up.
Level 6 for first Herald? That's crazy.
6 up here on first, but nonetheless, still waiting on it. Maryville, though, stepping up to the Rift Herald over the wall, an attempted hit of the Void Seeker, but coming through. Concept using the ultimate to rejoin, and Odd Orange was just locked upon. So Maryville losing their jungler, but he did pick up the Rift Herald in the eye beforehand.
So AOE gets something. I do like when teams actually go for the fight after instead of just getting front row seats to the movie that is your enemy getting the neutral objective. Still, though, Maryville can be happy trading one for the Herald. That is something, as long as they get value. That's the key thing there. It will be worth it if Odd Orange can help set up a dive. I mean, top side is getting really chunked out for Concept, who doesn't have ult or teleport to come back to lane, or setting it for bot side for Scary Jerry, someone who this team relies upon in the late game very often.
Oh, Dark Wings gets
it was neither
hit by the Odd Orange ultimate and get back, putting the first kill into his pocket. First kill for Maryville overall, with a good setup from his jungler.
It was a good start, or rather it was a slow start for Maryville. They're starting to pick up on what they really like to get. Oh, goodbye, Lynx. Unless
Scary Jerry putting a lot of damage out, does manage to finish off Lynx. I mean, that's what you have to worry about when you get locked by Varus, and the damage is there to follow.
Right? He thought he had enough to trade a little longer with the Severum ult, but unfortunately, well, you guys see the spawn timer. He most certainly did not. The big win coming over there for Scary Jerry. Again, that confidence, so important for him as a player. And it's led to some of the great plays we've seen from him overall. Yeah, he's got a ghost to live, but he gets the wave in, and he's denying golden XP from Lynx. Big dub for Maryville.
Yeah, immediately popped that ghost because he saw the approaching members of AOE, so good on him, just to make sure that the advantage that he just created is not nullified. Now Breezy and Will stepping up into Maryville's jungle, but Odd Orange also has the support by his side. Will trying to hold under this control ward, so Zyko does flash away. Q comes in again from Odd Orange, but downtown, the Killer Instinct draws Dark Wings into the fight, and Odd Orange eliminated. Lynx rotating from the bot side. Zyko down to half HP. Teleport down and picks up.
He's
Niles is trying to rotate through from the Dragon Pit, but Odd Orange is taken down. A stun up onto one, answered with a stun onto Niles, but Dark Wings cannot last much longer. Maryville continuing to push back on that aggressive play, and they take 2.
Great teleport for Niles into a huge fight win for Maryville. They pick up 4 big kills into their back pocket, and they still have a Rift Herald to play with. They get a lead for the first time this game, which we highlighted was so important for them, and they get a dragon. Talk about win, 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 Gabby.
Yeah, a couple bounties now for your biggest damage dealers as the game goes on. It means that Maryville, just by giving over that first dragon, they can take the second one here. Again, while they would have liked the first one, they didn't necessarily try and force anything to contest when AOE were able to position at it first previously. So splitting the dragon score, Ocean Drake will be next, which means it will be an Ocean Soul. Always something to consider in the future, but 1.6k gold lead for Maryville now. Will continually spending time in the jungle with Breezy. attempting to get that knowledge on Out Orange. Dark Wings taken by the Ethereal Chains.
Nice.
Does manage to win out in the duel here. Pop in enough sustain to be able to stay in it.
A little bit of limit testing there. Really nicely done there for Dark Wings to just barely get himself over the top.
Yeah.
A much needed reprieve there for him and the rest of AOE. Now we're going to see Odd Orange. The timer on that Herald was running low, so he needed to drop it. Not the play you're maybe hoping for, especially because Will has shown his face. He does have the ultimate, but he's forced out.
Yeah, looking to see if there's anywhere that they can make the most of a Rift Herald drop. Still 5 full plates on mid, and then I believe it's 4 over on top side for the AoE turrets. But right now, breaking into more if you want Scary Jerry to be able to get bigger and bigger to poke from that back line, then try and open up this lane for him a bit. Earlier on, there was some pushing by Lynx and Breezy, but the CS League has cornered back.
All right, nothing ended up happening there. We're going to see the replay. Dark Wings trying to use the supercharger to get out of the ethereal change. Miscalculated just a little bit. Or, maybe it was the mind games all along because he knew he had enough in the tank to level up and win the fight.
It's more of a fight happening now, though. You can see channeling up of the Keeper's Verdict by Will. But as soon as that happens, Maryville do back off of it. Will now sweeping away, just always staying, it feels like, in Auto Orange's jungle here on the bot side. And Dark Wings with a little bit of room to pressure out that turret a tad. But Niles now run into Breezy, goes in with the headbutt, hop over the wall. Will stuns him up against a wall of his own. And now Lynx has come to the party on the route, should be able to deal enough damage to finish Niles off. Continuation of the CC means he's locked in it, and Niles taken down.
Important kill there for AoE, and even better, it's in the hands of your 80 carry. I was a little sad the first blood didn't go the way of Lynx, but he gets another kill, and he's going to pick up first brick for all the Herald usage, for all the extra attention onto AoE's turrets from Maryville University. Will be Lynx and Breezy collecting that first brick gold there. Much needed for this Aphelios, who was not only set behind a little bit, but is going to be one of those late game hyper carries.
And try and get that build online as soon as possible. Had gotten the Kraken Slayer a while ago, but you can see working towards the next itemization. That Static Shiv had been previously finished by Dark Wings mid. So the gold lead that Maryville had built previously to be over 1,000, now taken out a bit onto AoE. Yes, because that Rift Herald was just got. You can expect Maryville to swing it a little bit in their direction once again, but considering we're looking at what they can do in the early game, I think that AoE keeping it pretty even so far makes it difficult to see who's gonna come out on top. Dark Wings, though. Killer Instinct to entrance.
Wow.
Flash to follow. Get back surviving, but Blast Cone puts Breezy and Will in his home, baby. Get back. Taken down. And even though Odd Orange is here, it's the Poppy, it's an Alistar, kind of tanky, and Niles pushing on that bot side means that he was able to answer a turret for a turret.
Here we do see that answer. It is a nice bit of gold there for Maryville, but it's a great kill. That gets them a lot of pressure on this top side. AoE can't take the blue buff, but they can hover enough for Dark Wings to be able to take down another turret, maintaining the turret lead and, of course, the gold lead as it's about to swing back into AoE's favor just a little bit here. Maryville getting leads in the early game and trying to get them into wins is big for their playstyle. They haven't been able to really secure it just yet, but you at least have a little late game insurance for Scary Jerry. And as time goes on and as this game plays out, Gabby, looking like they will have to lead more on him and the damage this Varus is going to be able to put out late game.
And while the first two dragon fights weren't really much, the first one wasn't a fight at all. It was just AoE stepping up to it, and then the second one, Maryville grabbing back with this Ocean Drake spawning in 4 seconds time. AoE are continuing to aggress into the enemy jungle to establish the vision, get as many controls down as possible. Niles has just flipped over to this bot side for quite some time now, was matched by Concept previously, because both of them have those Unleashed teleports available. Same with Get Back. It's Dark Wings that is lacking it for the time being. And won't be able to answer anything that happens up top, which right now is Maryville dropping down the second Rift Herald of the game. The unstoppable onslaught by Concept to try and make sure that Shelby doesn't get too much. But Get Back is going for it. Wanted to get the lock of the chains onto Breezy, but Breezy pops the ultimate to be able to escape any follow-up from Maryville. Look at that top side. It's gotten heavily broken into by Maryville's play.
And you can see it. The trades going back and forth. It's almost this game of chess between both of these teams, Gabby. And the pressure is on for both of them. These are two teams, while not in the bottom two of the standings, still very much in danger of falling outside of the playoff zone, outside of top 8 and into that promotion relegation tournament. And both of these teams have a decently tough schedule for these last couple of weeks, so it's really important for both sides to be able to pick up a game here and now. And oh man, a series, it would be even better.
Yeah, again, each game definitely mattering when it's this close in the standings, which comes a lot to, okay, how does your team perform under pressure? Are you unified in how you want to approach your game plan? And Maryville, even though they have struggled to always get a win off of their early leads. See what happens here. Things are fairly even. Breezy.
Concept's coming.
First verdict already used. Get Back gets stunned up against the wall. Teleport coming in from Maryville as Niles has arrived to the party with Meganar intact. Double kill set up for Scary Jerry and Maryville University. They win out on the fight. This mid turret is already weakened, so they're hoping to get some work done here. Just try and tank some of the tower shots because you got enough damage to be able to rain it down. You do have to be worried about Dark Wings. Dark Wings has Killer Instinct to be able to get into it if Maryville do overstay, but you still don't have your Poppy or your Alistar. So that front line, very weakened for AOE when Concept has already been chunked down.
Right, and it's such an important win there for the side of Maryville. Baron has spawned just now. I don't think even they are going to start it right away, but that pressure they've earned on the top side, a big play coming through, does mean that they find themselves once again comfortably in the lead. And I mean, a quick shout over to Scary Jerry, a bit of a different build, going for more of the on-hit Varus instead of the AP. A reminder, this is 13-13. Varus has been having some of his AP ratios nerfed. The damage on the Blight stacks, the magic damage, actually, was the most notable one. So you're not as likely to do 100% max health damage as AP Varus tends to do. But he's still going to do a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Trying to see a bit of a different look for Varus from what we've seen in the past. I mean, Freak in his patch 13.13 breakdown was saying, quote, AP Varus is illegal, end quote. It's fine if AP Varus is a thing. But yeah, he shouldn't be as focused as he used to be. Yeah.
So real. So true. Oh, wow.
Might be a real one for sure.
You do. I've been enjoying some of the matches since he has joined the balance team. But right now, things have slowed down a little bit. Maryville's still in a really strong position. But what did I say last game? 2 items. When you have double marksman comps, that's where things really start to turn up. AOE have reached that point. So even though they find themselves down about 2k, AOE are still in a position where they will be able to scrap, where they will be able to fight. And with what could be Ocean Soul Point coming up in a minute 30 for them, this is huge.
Yeah, and still plenty of time before they really have to force that fight there. And Get Back had spent some time bot to try and do some clearing. Concept, of course, answering. And now Niles trying to usher that wave on the top side as Maryville do have the turret advantage. That top was so cracked open by the Rift Herald. You saw just the continuous charges she was able to get off, and then Concept had to go to finisher. Then that means Maryville have a lot more agency when being able to move around the Baron side if they get the potential setup. Though you can see the deep wards from AoE, Will and Breezy, again, working in tandem as a support and jungler to make sure that the map doesn't get out of control.
Right, and this is that new duo to the side of AoE. Will, or Summer Child, as we call him, because he usually plays competitive in the summer, because in the spring he is in high school, have been really tearing it up here in Challengers League. Even though AoE as a squad have been struggling, they have looked good. Even Breezy, a player we believe at this point is ready to be at the next level. They sync up so well, and as AOE have started to improve, it is these two who are at the head of that improvement. So now, doing their due diligence, clearing out vision on the top side, should give them the opportunity to set up for this dragon. But now, Maryville have moved in. They're threatening the Baron. AOE, they can't take that chance.
And Niles just drawing back into mini, and you can see the way that Maryville are hovering around from that river in case AOE did push too much down.
Oh,
mid.
it's go time.
The Baron started up by Maryville. We'll see if they're setting themselves up for the turn. Will coming from mid lane, get back. Looking for the angle over the wall, potentially. Double knockup onto Niles, and Odd Orange Keeper's verdict means that Niles is nowhere to be seen, and Odd Orange has been taken out of it. Where's your engage? Where's your front line?
No Jerry!
Psycho has to flash away. Already used Summoners and the Breath of Life here, so AOE, they took down 2 key members at the start of this fight, and now they've got their sights onto the Baron.
Yeah, Niles, he's got to go big with this Gnar ulti, and if he expires with it up, then it's, oh, they're going for the turn.
Breezy's been marked down, but Darkwings comes back in with the teleport, get back, attempting to poke over the wall. The Baron's still somewhat focused. Breezy going for the back currently, and Concept zoning him off. Baron already low. Will does secure it, so Turo Baron buff now a factor for the next 3 minutes with all of them wearing purple.
And it's a huge team fight win into a huge pickup there from AOE Gold. Like you said, they have the Baron buff, but the delayed backs from Maryville will give them an opportunity to go for this dragon. You're seeing pings. AOE know what they got to do, and they're just sending Breezy to make absolutely sure this dragon is out of their hands. But you got what you wanted. You don't care about the soul anymore. You're back in the driver's seat with the gold lead and this buff.
Yeah, these dragons were late to be stacked to begin with, and at least that for that early separation of them too, right? This was just a second for Maryville, so yeah, you keep AOE from being on soul points, but now with the Baron buff, can start trying to even out some of these lane states, mid being the focus currently. Will clearing out some of the jungle as Scary Jerry has to stand against multiple members of AOE spread across top and mid. Get Back is attempting to even the odds by working more on that push that he had previously been focusing on that bot side towards that inhibitor turret. But Maryville, wary of AOE, attempting to knock down this turret. They don't have a wave to be able to get much more though. Still were able to get half. Breezy,
wow, look at that
damage. Uses the ult, flashes away, taken down. Will, Keeper's verdict, manages to knock back 2 members
is still pushing.
MU. Yeah, even, that's the thing. There's enough that was drawn out by Maryville against AOE that were pushing. Breezy, for instance, having to use so much of his toolkit that the whole while, Get Back went focused on the turret, took the inhibitor, and the turret is still standing on the top side for Maryville.
On a Baron push, AOE actually come back negative, which is kind of insane. Props to Maryville for holding the line so well with their mid laner out of the picture, pushing in and breaking that bottom inhibitor. Slows down AOE a little bit. They still have the buff to play for. They still have a gold lead, but that was a huge move from Maryville to be able to slow things down overall. AOE will still have maybe one more push in them, but there's only 40 seconds left on the Turo Baron buff. So instead, they're going to push what lanes they can, set up on this bottom side, because now the next thing to play for will be somebody's soul point. Doesn't matter who gets it.
And 3 items online for Darkwing, same for Get Back and Scary Jerry. Looking to finish things up for Lynx, but AOE, only 15 seconds to go on this Baron buff, and they're focused on Niles. Teleport coming in. Lynx able to deal a decent amount from afar. Doesn't have the ultimate just yet. You get the stun onto Odd Orange as he enters the back line. And now the heal used by Zyko to make sure that the remaining members of Maryville can just try and keep this at a 1-for-1 frame.
There it is!
Goes in with the Killer Instinct. So now suddenly Scary Jerry ain't around no more. Maryville lacking some of the damage. Niles waiting until he can go into Mega Form currently.
Oh, nice dodge.
Sidestep of the Keeper's verdict means that Will can't quite knock them away. circling around
they're
the
going
wall
back.
to re-enter, but gets stunned up. Niles now leaping towards Zyko. Lynx, though,
One more.
gets in range to be able to grab the double kill. 4 taken down for Maryville.
that a
Zyko
kill?
only one standing. Void Seeker was there just with the guesswork of the direction Zyko might be going.
Yeah.
But AOE, even though the Baron buff play wasn't as much on its own, they win the fight here on the end of it to be able to reset things and increase their gold lead.
Really stretching the limits there of their team fighting ability of AOE Gold. I gotta give props to Darkwings for how he's been playing the Kai'Sa this game. 6, 2, and 3, holding his ult in multiple fights in a row to kill specifically Scary Jerry. I put a lot of pressure on this player and even have said on this weekend that when he's off the Tristana, he isn't as impactful to the team. Well, I'm eating my words because this Kai'Sa, he's making waves this game.
He is, and I mean, you're always looking at when you do decide to use that killer instinct, are you going in and focusing on the right target and being able to burst them down? And I think that Darkwings has been doing just that. 6 and 2, 700 bounty on the head. And now that bot turret able to go down in favor of AOE, who have evened up the turret score. So Dragons even, turrets even, but a gold lead definitely going the way of red side.
They've turned it up, increased that gold lead to basically double what it was before. And now, oh, get back. Oh, goodbye.
See, you go in. You see, Lynx was able to do enough on to get back to say,
more than
hey,
enough.
Darkwings, why don't you come on in? Let's tag team this right now.
Yeah. Quick little handoff, alley-oop as they call it. You want to finish this one off for me?
Yeah. I feel like Aphelios and Kai'Sa are kind of fun too, watching those, because you just see Aphelios go and go bloop, okay, and then Kai'Sa, zoom, I'm right in there.
Yeah. And he's going to be doing more of that with the death cap because, holy moly, those W's, Darkwings hurts people. That's all I can say.
I know. That's you just have to worry so much about this Kai'Sa right now. 5,000 gold lead for AOE, and the Dragons again has just been so split apart between them. So even though it's the third dragon for AOE, we're at 30 minutes into the game. If they can get a soul, that's great, but it hasn't quite been the focus so far. Right now, Baron is back up. Maryville, they couldn't step up to the dragon, so they rotate towards the Baron first. They've got multiple controls into the pit. Void Seekers coming from downtown. They tag Niles, who's waiting to go into Mega. Breezy.
They have vision. Will wants to steal.
Unstoppable
he steals it
from Concept. And Will putting in the work to make sure the Turo Baron buff is claimed by AOE. And with Scary Jerry and Auto Orange gone, Breezy feels more confident to be able to knock Niles into the depths of hell.
Oh my God.
Darkwings, the poke still good onto Zyko. The Moonlight Vigil from Lynx to follow up means it's 4 taken out from Maryville. They want to make it the clean 5. But hey, you know what? You only have to send 1 over towards Get Back, delay his back, so that you can just open up this mid turret and the mid inhibitor and put in work on the AOE side. Ace finally achieved. 31 minutes into the game, almost 9,000 gold ahead for AOE, and they are pushing into this inhibitor. Scary Jerry now spawning, and then same with Auto Orange, but still a little bit of time before Get Back and the rest.
And there it is. We've long passed the point where Maryville's composition is strong. It had to come down to a desperate Baron play, but it didn't work.
AOE, they want to go for more before the rest of the team can spawn once again. So Auto Orange was the victim, and Concept has the passive active currently, but Darkwing's Killer Instinct again to be able to get into the backline, distance damage. Look at the way those Void Seekers just make sure Zyko can't back into it. Another Keeper's Verdict used by Scary Jerry, and AOE can put the finishing touches on game number 1.
And it was a back and forth touch and go game 1 for a little bit, Gabby, but AOE, they get the much needed win that is so important to them there. And again, we got to give that shout out to Darkwings. I mean, looking at the stats there in the breakdown, look at what he did on this AP Kai'Sa. Most damage in the game by a pretty large chunk. The only one close to him was Scary Jerry, and he had a pretty monster game on the pick.
Yeah, and the Kai'Sa being able to pop off has been very key to a lot of the victories we have seen, not just today coming off a series with Kai'Sa, but just across the new meta. I think it's been a bit since she was one of the most prominent picks, but she's definitely back into that form. And when you're looking at the gold, Maryville was never really able to establish enough of a lead for them to smother AOE enough before the Kai'Sa could get online, before Aphelios could be enough to be able to knock these down. So props to AOE for the way they were able to keep it in this game and set things off strong against Maryville. But we do have one more game to go soon enough. When it comes to this league, though, remember, my friends, my family, everyone watching from wherever you're watching from, the LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace, where you can book any car you want for just about any occasion. Forget about boring rental cars at Turo.com. I'm sure that Maryville will make use of their breather after game number 1 to see if they can draw things back against AOE in game number 2. We'll find out after this break.